about the Cairns-Port Douglas Reef Hub, an open, place-based, collaborative network for local reef stewardship, and Abby's from James Cook University. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. My name is Abby, and I am a researcher at James Cook University, and I also coordinate the Cairns-Port Douglas Reef Hub. So, as you can tell from my accent, I'm from England, and that's where I learnt to scuba dive and, fell in love with the ocean, really. But now I'm fortunate to have spent 7 years diving and studying the Great Barrier Reef. So I'm honestly not sure if I'll ever be able to go back to diving in a dry suit in the cold, murky waters of England, but we'll see. So today I'm here to talk to you about the Cairns-Port Douglas Reef Hub, which is an open, place-based collaborative network for local reef stewardship. So I just want to thank everybody who's been involved in the network, from the local partners to everybody who's collaborated with us so far, and in particular the traditional owner groups that we've worked with and on whose sea country we've worked as well. So the Gunganji Mandingal by Yadinji, Mandingal by Yadinji, Gimoy Wallabara Yadinji, Irakanji, Jabagai, and Jabalbina ranger groups. I want to pay respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging, and just thank them for their involvement and knowledge that they've shared so far with us. So today I'm just going to give you a bit of a history of the Cairns-Port Douglas Reef Hub, tell you what we've done so far and where we hope to be going. So where did the hub come from? Well, in 2020 there was an increase in the reef stewardship types of projects that were happening in the Cairns-Port Douglas region. And so there was a focus group discussions that were held to explore the idea of forming a hub. So these were really driven and led by GBRF, and in particular Jen, who's standing at the back there, who's done a lot of work in making the hub happen and driving us forward as well. So thanks, Jen. And it was agreed that a hub could be an open network of people in the region working together, supported by a shared vision and a coordinator, and locally agreed governance arrangements as well. And throughout these focus groups, it was highlighted that to be successful, this would need to build on the efforts that are currently underway in the region, because the Cairns-Port Douglas region is a powerhouse region for reef stewardship activities, and the skilled people that we have in this region is just amazing. That was the case in 2020, and it's still the case now, even more so. So the hub was kicked off in January 2022, and that's when the hub coordinator came on board, or the coordinators. So myself and my colleague Katie Chartrand at JCU coordinate the Cairns-Port Douglas Reef Hub. So we kicked off in 2022, and I'll kind of talk through some of the activities that we did during this time, but just so you have an idea of what the timeline looked like. So in 2022, we really kicked off discussions with the whole network, trying to understand what everybody was up to and where we could provide value. And we kicked off some collaborative activities. We had some capacity building initiatives as well during this time. And then last year in 2023, we kind of really tried to refine this and target some impactful actions. So we expanded some of the pilot projects from the first year. We worked to deepen the engagement that we had with the traditional owner groups and had some targeted activities towards the ranger groups in terms of capacity building. We refined our strategy a bit and produced tools and learnings along the way too. So where are we now in 2024? Well, our funding runs out in June 2024, so we're looking to try and extend this out to the end of the year. And ultimately, the goal is to have long-term funding to support this work so that we can plan long-term activities and keep supporting people in this region. So there's a few key principles of the hub that came out in those first focus groups and that have really carried us forward and that we still stick to now and will do going forwards. So the hub is respectful of different viewpoints and diversity. We're inclusive. We are an open network. So anybody working in reef stewardship in the Cairns-Port Douglas region can join the hub, can come and benefit from the capacity building, join in discussions, and give us feedback and ideas. Everyone is welcome. We are collaborative and not competitive. So we really want to help join the dots with things that are already happening. We want to be able to build capacity for projects in the region, and we want to work in with the things that are already happening here. We don't want to be competing with anyone else. We want to collaborate and work together. We are action-focused, so we want to see outcomes for the reef and practical things happening on the ground. And we're adaptive. We're learning as we go, so we are constantly looking for feedback from the network. We're taking on people's ideas, particularly during this first 2.5 years, which has been our pilot phase, really looking to see what's working well, what's not working well, and where can we improve. So who is involved in the Hub network? Well, there's a diverse group of organizations, and these are just some of the logos of people who've been involved during the past 2.5 years. You can see there that we have academic organizations, tourism operators, ranger groups, industry, NGOs. So there's a really diverse group of people who are working in this space and have joined in with us. So where are we going? I'm going to talk a bit about what the Hub is and how we've kind of implemented some of the activities to get to where we are today and the kinds of things we want to focus on going forward. So at the start of this year, we've really been talking to some of the key members of the Hub and talking to the steering group about what has worked well and what can we take forward, and really getting clear on exactly what our purpose is and how we can achieve this going forward. So with that in mind, what is the purpose of the Cairns-Port Douglas Reef Hub? I'm finally going to tell you after the middle of my presentation. We've been building up to it. So we are a place-based initiative to strategically enhance, empower, and connect the diverse efforts of local organizations to support the Great Barrier Reef, resulting in transformative benefit. And how do we do this? We want to build a skilled network, facilitate collaborative practical reef science, and we want to champion local voices. And this can support a few different key outcomes, so strengthening collective capacity to care for local reefs and benefit the community, identifying critical gaps in knowledge, and shining a light on local efforts and partnerships. So how have we been doing some of this so far? We've been doing quite a lot of capacity building activities to build skills in the network. So we've run Coral ID workshops with Russell Kelly. So looking to run workshops that can provide skills which can benefit a range of different projects that are happening in the area. Some of those more foundational skills. We've had on-water training days. So the picture you can see at the bottom there was just before the AMSA conference in Cairns, where we had local scientists come, local scientists from the reef tourism industry and the network, but also scientists who were coming in for the AMSA conference came out to the reef with us as well. So we had Carly from AIMS sharing some of that CAD device technology and monitoring, and we also showcased some of the local stewardship like the Mars Reef Stars that were out at Moore Reef. So really connecting some of that local knowledge in with the broader science has been a key area as well. And as part of some of the collaborations and pilot projects that we've had, we've worked with AIMS out at Moore Reef and delivered workshops as part of this, which we've opened up more broadly to the Hub. We've also included talks from external scientists and organizations within the Hub to really share knowledge and build skills. And we've delivered the spawning school, which Katie and Sterling spoke about yesterday, so hopefully you all caught that talk. But that was a workshop focused for Indigenous ranger groups around collecting coral larvae, culturing these, and how this can be used out on the reef. So in terms of moving forward, we're looking to really build on all of these things. Our feedback from the network was that this has all been really valuable skills for them, and they've enjoyed these workshops. So looking to identify other areas where we can deliver these types of workshops with broad appeal in terms of projects. We've also been facilitating some collaborative practical reef science. So hopefully if you haven't been in this room all morning, you caught Matt's talk, which was specifically about this project in the other room earlier. So the Moore Reef Collaborative Monitoring Project was one of the first collaborations that we ran through the Hub. So partnering up with Matt and the RAP Engagement Sub-Program, and then also the CAD team at AIMS. So this involved a variety of different activities, and I won't go into too much detail, but there was training for the Hub around how we can monitor these devices. There was an experiment that was set up at Moore Reef with a couple of key partners around how these devices perform in rubble habitats. And then there was a broader study looking at what the visitor perceptions are of these types of reef interventions, not just the CAD devices, but some of the other interventions too. So definitely catch up on Matt's talk or chat to Matt if you want to find out more. So after that first collaborative project we did with the Hub, we wanted to think of other ways that we could all collaborate together and provide really important data that wasn't otherwise out there, really. So we wanted to understand more about regional scale coral recruitment, and this came from an idea that John Edmondson at Wavelength said to us about getting settlement tiles out on the reef more broadly, and how could we possibly do this, and what were the permit things that would get in the way. So we overcame those kind of obstacles in terms of permits and managed to plan this kind of study in 2023 off the back of the spawning season there. So we had settlement tiles which were deployed by the operators and organizations whose logos you can see there. And they were deployed at these 5 reefs, either 2 or 3 sites, to really understand how relative recruitment can vary between these reefs. And it wasn't just the field work that we brought everyone together for. These were also analyzed in the lab with help from 18 participants from 9 different organizations, so not just the organizations who helped to deploy them. And so we taught people in the lab how they could analyze these tiles under a microscope, how they could count the coral recruits that were on there, and even identify these to some level. So this kind of just shows you the types of data that we can collect with a network, and these kinds of data that aren't out there and can be applied to initiatives like RRAP or other big projects that are out there that want to understand what is the coral recruitment like, what's the source and sinks reefs, and even more important in this bleaching year, that we could hopefully look at this again next year and understand what the differences are over time as well. So this is just some very, very preliminary data plotted up by tile, but just to kind of see what the power of this data can be going forward. And the last thing that we want to do is really champion local voices. So far, we haven't been so active in terms of having a social media profile, but this is something that came through very strongly in terms of the feedback. You know, we've been building this network now for a couple of years, and now we really need to step up and have a bit more of a voice and advocate for the local community. So far, we've kind of been doing some strategic advocacy work and some media around some specific projects that we've had. So working in with Tourism Tropical North Queensland to talk about the Tile project and even appearing on ABC Breakfast. And then getting local news coverage of some of our other projects, such as Spawning School. But yeah, just that's been very project by project based. But this is something that we are going to work on going forward. And so we have a new website that's just launched this week. So you can scan the QR code and get that. And then we also have a new Hub Instagram, and we will have a Facebook as well. So please jump online and follow those. And the idea behind this is really to be able to share some of the work that the Hub's doing, but also championing the local voices, sharing the work of the region, because there's so much amazing stuff happening here, and we want to showcase that. So please jump online and follow. And if you want to be involved in anything that we're doing, you can get on the mailing list, you can come and have a chat. I'm keen to hear from everybody, and thanks to everyone who's been involved and who has collaborated with us so far.
Thank you, Abby. Probably have time for 1 or 2 quick questions, if there's one from the room or any from online. Well, Abby, I'm sure people will have questions for you, potentially in the lunch break. So thank you very much, Abby.